Chapter 5, The Vanishing. The morning I disappeared began like any other, which was precisely the point. Ordinary mornings are the easiest to misremember. They dissolve into routine, into habit, into the soft blur of repetition. A dramatic morning would have been suspicious. A quiet one was forgettable. I woke at 6. Alistair was already in the shower. I listened to the water running, the faint hum of him humming a tune he didn't know the words to. He always hummed when he was in a good mood. He had been humming more often lately. Affairs make men happy in a way that marriages rarely do. I got out of bed, dressed, and went downstairs. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen island and scrolled through the news. I did not speak. I did not sigh. I did not behave in any way that could later be described as unusual. When Alistair entered the kitchen, he kissed my cheek and said, "Morning." I responded with the same word, in the same tone, at the same volume I always used. Consistency is a form of camouflage. He poured himself coffee and scrolled through his phone. His expression shifted, a small smile quickly suppressed. A message from her, no doubt. He angled the screen away from me, as if I cared enough to look. He believed secrecy protected him. In reality, it revealed him. "Plans today?" he asked. "Errands," I said. He nodded, satisfied. He did not ask for details. He never asked for details unless they affected him directly. That was his 7th mistake. I left the house at 8. I walked to the tube station. I boarded a train. I got off at the next stop. I boarded another train going in the opposite direction. I exited at a station I had no reason to visit. I walked to a cafe in Soho, not the same one as before. A different one. A new timestamp, a new camera, a new witness. I ordered tea. I sat by the window. I opened a book. I made sure to be seen. A woman reading alone in a cafe is unremarkable. A woman reading alone in a cafe the morning she disappears is significant. I left after 30 minutes. I walked to a chemist and purchased a pack of plasters. I paid in cash. I kept the receipt. I placed it in my wallet. Receipts are timestamps. Timestamps are evidence. I then walked to the Thames. The river was quiet that morning, the water smooth and reflective. The sky was pale, the air cool. People jogged along the embankment, their breath visible in the cold. A cyclist passed me, ringing his bell. A couple walked hand in hand, laughing softly. I stood by the railing for several minutes, looking out at the water. I made sure to be seen. I made sure to be noticed. I made sure to appear contemplative. A woman standing alone by the river in the morning is a woman who could be troubled. A woman who could be planning something. A woman who could disappear. I left the embankment at precisely 9:42 a.m. I walked down a side street, turned a corner, and stepped into the shadow between two buildings. That was the moment the world lost track of me. I did not go home. I did not go to a hotel. I did not go to a friend's house. I went to the safe flat, the one Marcus had secured for me. He opened the door before I knocked. "You're early," he said. "I'm on schedule," I replied. He stepped aside, letting me in. The flat was small, sparsely furnished, anonymous, a place without history, a place without identity, a place where a woman could cease to exist. "Did he notice anything?" Marcus asked. "No." "Good." He handed me a burner phone. I turned it on, checked the signal, then turned it off again. "Today," I said. He nodded. At 10:15 a.m. I sent the message, not from my phone, that would be too obvious, from a public computer in a library in a part of London I had never visited before. A message to Alistair. Short, ambiguous, troubling. "I need time. Please don't call me." I logged out. I wiped the keyboard. I left the library. By the time Alistair received the message, I was already gone. At 11:03 a.m., I turned off my primary phone. I removed the SIM card. I placed both in a plastic bag. I walked to a bridge. I dropped the bag into the river. The phone would be found eventually, or it wouldn't. Either outcome was useful. A phone turned off abruptly is suspicious. A phone found in a river is damning. At noon, I walked into a small shop and purchased a bottle of water and a sandwich. I paid in cash. I kept the receipt. I placed it in my wallet. A woman planning to disappear does not buy lunch. A woman planning to disappear but wanting to appear normal does. At 1:17 p.m., I walked into a hotel lobby. I asked for directions. I thanked the receptionist. I left. I made sure to be seen. I made sure to be recorded. A woman who disappears without being seen is suspicious. A woman who disappears after being seen is believable. At 2:30 p.m., I returned to the safe flat. Marcus was waiting. "It's done?" he asked. Yes, he nodded. Then we wait. Waiting is the most difficult part of any plan, not because of fear, I felt none, but because of anticipation. The moment before a structure collapses is always the most delicate. One wrong move, one unexpected variable, one careless oversight can unravel everything. But I had accounted for every variable, every movement, every timestamp, every witness, every camera, every receipt, every digital trace, every absence, every presence. A disappearance is not a single act, it is a sequence, a choreography, a narrative constructed with precision, and mine was flawless. At 4:12 p.m., Alistair called my phone. It went straight to voicemail. At 4:13 p.m., he called again. Voicemail. At 4:15 p.m., he sent a message. Where are you? Call me. At 4:20 p.m., another. This isn't funny. At 4:27 p.m., another. Please answer. At 4:41 p.m., another. I'm worried. He was not worried. He was inconvenienced. At 6:03 p.m., he called Daniel. At 6:07 p.m., he called the housekeeper. At 6:42 p.m., he called my sister. At 7:10 p.m., he called the police. A missing person report was filed at 7:26 p.m. The investigation began at 7:41 p.m. By 8:03 p.m., officers were at our house. By 8:17 p.m., they were asking questions. By 8:42 p.m., they were taking notes. By 9:10 p.m., they were reviewing CCTV. By 9:47 p.m., they were tracing my steps. By 10:12 p.m., they were interviewing witnesses. By 11:03 p.m., they were asking Alistair why his wife had vanished. By midnight, the first cracks had appeared. Not in the investigation, in him. I watched it all unfold from the safe flat. Calm, detached, analytical. A woman who disappears voluntarily leaves behind a question. A woman who disappears strategically leaves behind a suspect. And Alistair was becoming the prime one.